Kane Wommack, Alabama's defensive coordinator, had a lot to say in preparation to head down to Tallahassee to take on FSU, including some new things we might see from his defense in 2025. Stick around. Let's talk about it. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to your favorite Alabama Sports Talk on YouTube. I'm not going to waste your time. Go ahead and leave a big Roll Tide down there in that comment section below. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys know what I'm asking. Just do the thing. Let me hear where you're watching from, loud and proud. Also, leave your score predictions for Alabama FSU because it's game week. You know how I know it's game week? I've got my helmet here. I've got everything. I'm just ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to absolutely go. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. I'm sure you are too, because it has been a very long offseason, and we have spent months and months and months hyping up this 2025 squad, especially the defense, but for good reason. And Kane Wommack kind of hinted at it a little bit today, just now talking with the media. Fix the hat here. What he had to say. He said a lot, and we're going to talk about all of it. We're going to jump in. First and foremost, he talked a lot about his understanding of this defense and the standard. He said that the people there, including the players, the staff, they all have a better understanding of what the standard is and what the expectation is for Alabama's defense in 2025. That is a good thing. We've been talking about a lot how if Alabama can beat Kalen DeBoer's Alabama but uphold Nick Saban's standard, ooh, look out. He was asked specifically a lot of questions about Tommy Castellanos, the quarterback for FSU, as well as FSU in general. And a lot of the answers you would expect, that they present some, they definitely present some unique challenges in how they handle tempo and how they do things. The quarterback is very shifty. And he, he's a little worried about tackling. He didn't say that he was worried about tackling, but he talked about tackling a lot. Maybe he's issuing a challenge to that defense. He talked about he feels like they're in a good position to be a very good tackling defense, but he wants to see it live. He wants to see it in a game. He brought that up multiple times. He brought up his relationship with Gus Malzahn, which we just did a video on earlier today. Be sure to check that out when you're done here. They've known each other for a very, very long time. Discussed how he met Mike Norvell back in 2009, obviously because of professionalism. He said nothing bad to say about either one of the two. Surprise, surprise. Not that he would. Speaking of professionalism, he did talk towards that a little bit with his defense, and that everything around what's going on through fall into this week feels more professional. And he talked about how cool it is to kind of see these guys, these younger guys, grow and mature and become, more professional in that sense. And I think that's good. Alabama has historically, especially under Nick Saban, kind of carried themselves as a business per usual mindset. And so if they can get back to that in 2025, I think it'll serve them well, both offensively and especially on defense. Kane Wommack was also asked about James Smith. He was asked about a lot of things like personnel groupings, which we're going to get to. But just highlighting this game, he talked a lot about, like I said, what Gus Malzahn has done in the past, as well as some unique weapons that FSU will bring to the field. He talked about Rodell Williams, the former Alabama running back. He made it clear, I don't know the kid. I've never met him. However, there's a lot of people on the defense who know him and hold him in high regard. He was asked specifically about Squirrel White, the former Tennessee wide receiver. He said that he's watched him a good bit, obviously, but it's been kind of interesting because they've had to pick and pull from different places, such as film from UT, and then kind of look at what Gus Malzahn has done in different places he's been and kind of try to piece together the puzzle and how they're going to likely use a guy like Squirrel White. He's a speedster. So it'd be interesting to see how FSU uses him and how Alabama adjusts to that. He said he was asked about environment. Ryan Grubb was asked about this too. They've been simulating a loud environment in practice. Said that the offense is ready. They've been handling it very well. Kane Wommack talked about it, and he said, your guys have to execute regardless of the environment. He said basically what they're looking for is just do your job for that one play. Like, it's the most important thing. It's the most important play ever, and do that over and over again consistently. Who does that sound like? Yeah, sounds a lot like Nick Saban. Do your job, one play at a time. Don't worry about the score. Don't worry about what the external factors that you can't control. Worry about you and what you can do. And Kane Wommack has been preaching that and kind of reinstilling that into his defense this fall, which I think will definitely lend itself to a much higher performing defense than we saw in 2024, which should scare some folks. He talked about his confidence. It's a lot higher in the defense and himself, because he feels like they understand the variables better compared to 2024. There's a better gel is the word he used with the coaching staff. And that's reflecting into the work and the energy on defense. And there's a better understanding of their players and their personnel. Now, speaking of personnel, we talked about that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. He was asked specifically if he's comfortable deviating from the standard 4-2-5 personnel groupings. At first, he didn't really understand the question, but then he explains, or the question is elaborated on, and he explains that there's a lot more experience this year, and it allows him to put himself in like best personnel packages and make sure they have the right folks on the field. This is going to be very important because of how Gus Malzahn will run this offense. He says that they do have some things that are geared up and that they're prepared to do. He said that they're not necessarily different from what they did in 2024, but they can expand on a lot of things that they did in 2024. 2024 was very vanilla-based defense. Kane Wommack runs a vanilla-based system. It's less complicated than, let's say, what a Nick Saban would do. However, if you've watched the channel, you understand that there's been some interesting wrinkles going on in practice lately, especially with like the 3 safety look, things like that. In preparation for what they're going to face down there in Tallahassee. And I thought that was very interesting because I don't know that he was allotted the opportunity to do a lot of personnel changes in 2024. We've been talking about that a lot. These rotations are going to be very, very important as Alabama's defense adapts to different playing styles that they see week in and week out. He even brought that up in the while he was talking to the staff. He talked about the Wolf position, was asked he talked about guys like Latham and Yanze Pierre, obviously Quay Rusall, how there's just a ton of experience. But he also talked about the younger guys like Noah Carter and Justin Hill, who he wants to see be a little more consistent, but they've been consistent enough that they're popping. They're popping. So there's so much talent on this defense. Basically, it's going to be hard to keep a lot of these guys off the field. Now, depending on what happens after the season, you may see some of these guys transfer just because, I mean, this is probably the deepest defense in college football. A lot of people who know ball way better than I do, who have been watching up close, have said there's basically zero drop off from guy 1, 2 to 3. And that's awesome. That's going to serve Alabama very, very well going into the season. However, what happens when the season's over and guys are competing for playing time again. So we'll see how that plays itself out. But ultimately, Kane Wommack seems extremely positive, almost giddy about what his unit will bring to the field in 2025. He recognizes the challenge that FSU is. A lot of people don't. A lot of people are having trouble differentiating between the 2-10 team last season and what they could potentially be this year. Realistically, this isn't going to be last year's team. And with Gus Malzahn, it could be dangerous. Malzahn gave Alabama a lot of issues when he was the head coach and the play caller at Auburn. So people seem to forget that. But it seems like Wommack understands. He's known Malzahn since, for years, for decades. And so he definitely has a better understanding of what the expectation is for his defense. He says that the defense itself, these kids, they're more mature. They're bought in to this process. They also have a better understanding of what the expectation is and what the standard is. And that is a very, very important aspect to going on the road in week 1 and getting a win. Thanks for sticking around with me. Again, please leave your score predictions down in the comment section below, or leave a big roll tide and tell me where you're watching from. We've got more from Coach Grubb and Kalen DeBoer coming later, so be sure you subscribe. Roll Tide, as I always say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down. Beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too.